Hello and welcome back to Indie Venture Extra, our bonus series where we interview key members of the games industry, and in this instance, former members of the games industry. I'm joined once again by a returning guest. We have former reviews editor at Rock Paper Shotgun, current recovering games journalist, and as I said in the last episode, my long-suffering friend, it's Ed Thorn, everybody. Hi, Ed.
Hello. It's lovely to be back.
Yeah, and recording in person.
Yeah,
which
yeah.
is, we've never actually done anything like this in person before. Like, every creative project we ever worked on together was done via the comfort of Discord chats.
Yeah.
It's quite nice, actually, to doing something in person.
It feels a bit more, not that it was unnatural, but this feels a bit more natural. We're actually just talking in person. I
find this when I record in person with Rebecca and Rachel as well. For the first 5 minutes, it feels like the most unnatural thing in the world to like just be like, oh, there's a microphone in front of me now, and I'm doing my podcast voice, which you've not heard me do all day.
No, so, it's like, wait, Liam, what?
Yeah. Why have you gone so posh, Liam? So we've decided to do this, and actually we've been speaking about doing this since we recorded the last episode with you. We always kind of intended for these podcasts to be a bit of a duology, like a pairing with each other, because when we recorded that episode with you back in December last year, went live in January, which was about your experience as a games journalist and what it was like to be a reviews editor, we knew that you were leaving the games industry at that point. So I almost wanted to do that episode as a bit of like a time capsule of my friend's career, knowing full well that you were leaving, and then our intention was to do a follow-up 6-7 months later about what it's like to leave the games industry, because obviously that's something I did like 2 years ago now, and we thought it might make for an interesting chat. So yeah, that's what we're going to do today. We're going to have a little conversation about what it's like to leave the games industry, things we miss and things we don't miss so much, and what it's like to leave and to re-establish your relationship with games. But before we get into that, you been playing anything recently, Ed?
I have. I think I would say I'd started on Avowed. I would say that's where I basically had, I suppose the context to this was I had a PS5 and was like, I don't play this anymore. Got rid of that, and then got a Steam Deck, realised later on that I wasn't playing it, swapped that out for an Xbox Series X, got Game Pass, and was like, I want to play on a couch again. And Avowed is on Game Pass, and I saw it, I was like, that's a 7 out of 10.
This is the Obsidian RPG. It's sort of like, I think it's based in the Pillars of Eternity.
And I didn't know this until maybe like midway through the game. I was like, I just looked it up on Google for some reason. I don't know why. Yeah.
I mean, I've never played Pillars of Eternity.
No.
It's very much outside of my wheelhouse. I'm sure you're the same.
Yeah, I was like, I don't care for it.
Yeah,
sorry. So I played that and absolutely raced through it. And that was maybe the first like inkling of I want to play games again, which felt quite nice. And I played it like a monster. I didn't pay any attention really to the plot.
Love this.
I just smashed through dialogue options. I didn't care. I just selected probably the top option because that was always like the neutral positive.
Right.
And it allowed me to do that, and to just sprint around areas that are all quite streamlined, and the decisions you're making sort of have an impact, but also don't, and it's like unintentional. I don't know if it's unintentional or intentional. The fact that I could play it like a monster and yet feel like I had a good time with it. It enabled me to do that.
Yeah,
I just treated it like a loot goblin. I loved the way that you didn't in sort of those big RPGs. There's a bit of a grind sometimes, or you spend ages exploring. And whereas with this, it was like there's a mission and it just gives you a big marker and you just go find it, and it's all quite simple. And you're picking up stuff as you go, like I don't know, weeds and rocks or whatever.
Yeah,
and you just throughout all of the 4 areas you go to, you can just use all of that stuff that you're collecting to constantly make your armor better and the stuff you get better. It's a very smooth upward curve, is what I'm trying to say.
I think, like, I haven't played it. I need to, but the reviews I read seem to imply that it was scaled really nicely. Like, it wasn't trying to be this massive, like, Bethesda level RPG or Witcher 3. It's much smaller in scope, and it's sort of like that kind of explains, I think, what you're saying, right? Like, it's not, you don't have to go off and do like 15 side missions to like get enough to upgrade the particular armor you're wearing. Like, it's all so narrow in its scope that you're able to kind of like push through it and still have like to see most of it, even on like a monster playthrough like you did.
Yeah, and I sort of love the skill trees aren't like some star constellation of like numbers and stuff. It's just some rows. And,
love that.
I don't know. I just really I like the fact that it was quite sort of concise. And almost the fact that it wasn't too in depth with the dialogue options. Like, you can choose your background, and you know, sometimes in other games, like in Fallout or something, that background might influence some of the dialogue options, and it unlocks new stuff. Or you fail like skill checks and things. Not in Fallout, but in other things. And whereas in this one, it really you sort of have these background options,
right?
But you don't unlock anything new, really. Like, there's no kind of reward.
Interesting.
It didn't strike me as that. I mean, I was just smashing through it, but like, it's stuff like that. I was like, okay, cool. Like, I'm not missing out, really. Not that I really cared for that.
Totally fair.
And the lore was like quite. I don't know. The lore was quite tedious as well.
Yeah.
Some of the characters were quite boring, apart from like the fish man. There's like a fish man in it. I think he's the Garrus.
Yeah, he's voiced by the same person who voiced Garrus in Mass Effect. Yeah.
He was probably the best person in it. Who runs around with you. But the combat's great. That's probably one thing I should sing about. It was why I think I liked it. As a bit of a combat sicko.
Yeah.
It's one of those where you swing a sword around and stuff, but it feels like there's real impact and timing matters, and you can do good spells and things, and I don't know, it was really like impactful, the combat. I liked it.
We'll circle back to this, I think, later on, because one thing I'm always really interested in talking about with people who've left the industry is, like I mentioned at the top, like how their relationship with games changes. But just as a bit of like a tease for later on, if you'd had to review this, so let's be fair, you would have got code 4 days before the deadline. Do you think you would have played all of it? Like, do you think you would have kept playing it after you reviewed it? Or do you think it would have been one of those, like, I'm playing 6 hours of this and then I'm never touching it ever again once I've, like...
Yeah, I think I would have. There's no way I would have finished it. Which might sound like, you know, blasphemy or whatever. Like, my God, you don't finish the games you review. Of course not. No. I would have probably received it, well, like you were saying, 4 days before. It's enormous. It is like it's not an enormous game, but it's like quite a large undertaking where you've got other things to balance during your job.
Yeah.
And I think with reviewing, often it's a case of you just know, I think, when you kind of get a sense for a game, and 100%. That sense is largely like a complete one.
Yeah.
So I think I would have, got like however far through and be like, I'm done. And I don't think I would have. I think just the review process itself kind of it tires you.
Yeah.
I think I wouldn't have gone back to it personally. It's like it's not good enough.
Yeah.
For me at that time to be like, I'm in. I want to finish this now. Whereas I think just because I've got more space, sort of personally and professionally, I suppose now I'm like, I can just. It's not slop. That's a really horrible way of describing a game, but it's one of those where it's like it's just something I could smash through, and I quite liked doing that in my spare time.
I think sometimes you just want a McDonald's burger.
Yeah.
Right? You just want to have something that's comforting, but not that nutritious, but it's delicious, and you're probably still a little bit hungry by the end of it, and you feel a bit shit about yourself. But we all sometimes want junk food, right? And I think it's good to sometimes play a 7 out of 10 for 20 hours.
Yeah.
And be like, I needed that. You know, I'm playing Fantasy Life I, the girl who stole time on the Switch 2 at the moment. Maybe the most annoying video game I've ever played. Like, like the soundtrack and the sound effects, heinous. It sounds like a nightmare. You never heard of this? Love this for you. It's good, asterisk.
Yeah.
But it's not great whatsoever. But I'm getting something out of it at the moment. It's quite repetitive. It's quite grindy. Do you know in RuneScape?
Yeah.
Like old school RuneScape, you had like different skills for like if you wanted to like be a baker, you could like keep baking and like get more skills in that like.
You just rinse and repeat it for ages, yeah.
It's that, but single player.
Oh.
So you've got like all these different lives. So you might be like, I'm a paladin, which is like the sword fighter, or I'm a tailor and I make armor. And you level up each of those independently of the others.
Oh, interesting.
Which is kind of reminds me of that. But it's not a 10 out of 10. And I know for a fact that when I was a games journalist, I would have covered that a little bit, and then I would have felt obligated to move on. Because I think when you're a journalist, everyone expects you to find the fillet steak.
Yeah.
Like you're kind of there to say these are the things that you should be spending time on. Even though as people, I think it's important for us to have like unnutritious meals from time to time. And I sort of feel like you playing Avowed is that it's you like maybe rediscovering that aspect a little bit now that you've finished. I don't know.
Yeah, I think it's just a bit of, like you were saying, I think it's just a bit of me time. And I don't have to, I think when you're a games journalist and you're reviewing stuff and constantly trying to come up with angles for features, it kind of sucks a bit of life out of it in some ways, because you're just constantly thinking as you're playing, whereas with this I was like, well, I don't have to do that. I think there was a part of my brain that was just it does now naturally, but for the first time in forever I was like, I kind of want to just make my blue loot go purple and I don't have to write about it, and I don't have to pay attention to the story for the review anymore. I just can play the parts of the game that I want to play without having to deliver a verdict. And it was really
great, right?
It was brilliant. And I finished it. I felt largely nothing. I was like, great. Like that was like 35 hours of my life. I've got all this legendary gear.
Oh, you played it for 35 hours?
Yeah, I did. I did.
Amazing. Excellent.
Yeah, I just logged in for days, constantly paid no attention to the story at all. I had no idea what was going on, but I just loved like the loot chase and killing bigger monsters and unlocking cool skills. And then got to the end, and then I was like, okay, that's what I needed from it.
Done.
As sort of like a single player, like not like Destiny, but I just filled that hole that I needed. A bit of like a loot grind, and it just had a lot of combat. And I think if I was reviewing it, I'd just be like, well, this is 2 7 out of 10 for me, and I need to think critically about everything, and it would just tire me out. So that was the first game I think in ages where I sat through it and finished it in a long time.
I'm just gonna keep talking. I'm just gonna listener. We're sat on a bed in a hotel, and my posture is bad as it is, but I'm sat on the end of the bed and I'm just hunched over and it's killing my back. I'm just gonna pull that chair over.
Oh yeah,
while you talk a bit more about that other game you've been playing.
We and as someone with a back injury, I think that's a brilliant move actually. What else have I been playing? I suppose the next natural step for me was another single player game, Claire Obscure Expedition 33, possibly one of the worst titles. Ever.
Worst video game title of the year, I'd say. Maybe the game I've enjoyed the most. In 2025. Oh, I'm very relaxed now.
Oh yeah, my God,
look at this.
The legs are up. I can see the socks.
My egg and bacon socks.
Yeah,
I'm on a chair that is significantly lower than the bed I have my legs on, which is providing me. It's probably worse for my back than being hunched over.
Horribly uncomfortable.
But I feel I quite like it. I'm gonna get lower down. Actually, this is even better. Wow.
We're very loungy at the moment. I'm just sort of like on the bed. Lying down. There you go, a little visual for you.
I wish I could record every podcast like this. I might just start lying in bed and using this microphone. Fuck the £400 microphone I normally use. I'll use this this microphone I used to use at RPS instead, and when we went abroad.
Yeah, this is very nice.
So Claire Obscure. Which I think I messaged you about it months ago, and I was like, ignore the name of this game. It's like French Persona. I think you'd like it.
Yeah.
And you started playing it.
I did. I started it, and then I think I played like an hour, like the opening, and was a bit like, like I've just finished Avowed, and it's a big RPG, and I know I played it like a monster, but it took like 35 hours, and I had to make some decisions that I had to like turn on my brain for occasionally. So I was a bit like, I don't know if I can handle like another 30 odd hour RPG. I can't be arsed with it. But I thought, no, I'll give it a go because everyone is raving about this thing. And I found myself more so than Avowed, like wanting to play it, which is rare. Like I haven't had that in a long time. Like genuinely wanting to play something. And yeah, I am enjoying it. I don't know how many hours in. Maybe like 12 hours. 10 or 11.
Knowing where you're at, I'd probably say about 10 or 11. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's, I think again, it's a bit like Avowed in the sense of it's quite streamlined, and I like that. It's not. I know that it's not 120 hours like Persona 5, and they're not all talking like they're delivering exposition all the time. Like I love Persona, but a lot of it is it's very JRPG. Obviously,
yes, it is. Yeah.
And that can tire sometimes. And there's a lot of grinding involved, and a lot of nonsense bosses. Yeah. And there's a lot just running around Persona where like it's not just about it's not like Shin Megami Tensei, that series where it's all just combat and all killing monsters and stuff. It's the whole social side, which is the brilliant side, but that's time consuming.
There's a lot of like going to the onsen. Onsen, is that what it's called? Like the bathhouse. Yeah. And sort of like whatever that does gets one of your stats up, right? While Morgana speaks shit to you or whatever. Like, there's a bit of that in it, isn't there? And
I love that like about it, but I think in this point in my life, I'm like, I want to sit down in an evening and feel like I've achieved something.
Yeah.
And I think with those sorts of JRPGs, not just Persona, but others, where it's a bit like, all I've really achieved is 2 hours of talking to a man in a ramen shop, and I've got like an uplift to my like charisma stat or something. It's a bit like brilliant.
Or not even an uplift. Like it does that thing where it shows you the graph and it doesn't budge. You're like, brill, thanks. Yeah. Do that 12 more times and it might go by 1 point.
And it's not even auto saved. So you just like close the game. It's like, right, that's all that progress gone, is it?
I love that game, to be fair. But
yes, I absolutely love it. It's one of my favourites. But I think that what I'm trying to say about Claire is that Claire, not the person, the game. It's very weird calling it Claire.
My friend Claire.
Claire Obscura is very. It's got a nice balance of like we're going to do some fighting and stuff, and we'll keep charging forwards. There's a bit of socialising at the camp, and the cutscenes are good. It's well written.
Yeah.
And I think just the setup is very like compelling.
Yeah.
I don't know whether to talk you all through it, but you know, there's
by all means,
there seems to be like I don't. I mean, I'm now like, oh god, I've got to try and describe the plot. I'm terrible at that. There is like this number in the ocean and a big tower, and it's ticking down.
Yeah.
And that's to do with this person called the Paintress who is on this island.
And this godlike figure, isn't she?
Yeah. And that sort of means that, you know, the number is on 33, and that means that people on this island that are filled with nice and good people, at the age of 33, they kind of just evaporate into dust, and we don't like that. So
yeah, not a huge kind of yearly evaporation. Yeah.
So they've like adapted life around it. They're like, well, that happens, lol. But there's some who are like, no, we're going to set sail and go to this island with the Paintress on it and the numbers, and we're going to make sure those numbers don't go down.
Yeah.
So that's why we're on this Claire Obscure expedition.
I actually don't know where Claire Obscure comes from.
Not a clue.
I assume it's French.
Yeah.
But I don't know what it means.
No idea.
Should I Google it? Oh, I've got to get up.
Yeah. Oh, God.
Nah, not happening.
No.
I'm stuck here now.
I saw that briefly. I was like, no, it's not happening. Yeah, so I think that's compelling in itself. Like the fact that we're on this expedition, loads of others, well, like in the past have tried and failed to stop the paintress from painting numbers that go down.
Yeah.
And yeah, I want to know what happens. And I suppose the island the paintress is on is mysterious in itself. You know, you're sort of discovering it as the team that you play as do. Which is it's a bonkers world. I'm not really sure if I'm actually like in love with that world.
I was saying this earlier. Yeah.
Yeah, it's very. I was describing this to you. It's a bit like, I suppose it is double A, really. But it's got a very like sort of dead live service game from a couple of years ago.
Yeah,
energy.
You said this, didn't you? Yeah, I think this is a very games journalist sort of like brain take that I'm not entirely sure I agree with, but I do love it. I do love it as a take, so you should describe it.
It sort of reminds me of like a live service game that I had to like preview called Synced, made by Tencent.
I think you're the only person in the world. I think the people who made Synced don't remember Synced.
Yeah.
Like, it's just you that remembers Synced.
And it's just, to be honest, I don't remember a huge amount of it, but I remember you were like a person with a gun and you're on an island, and there were like, the enemies were like classic rock golems with like big crystals that make them evil.
I mean, that is pretty much all the enemies in Clair Obscur, isn't it? So it's totally fair. And
you just shoot them and and you get loot or whatever.
Yeah.
But like the vibe of it, I think it's just all the monsters kind of being a bit crystally, and it being quite like grey and rocky, reminds me of it. Like, I don't know if it, maybe this is really mean and a bit harsh, but I think a lot of the worlds need the areas that you explore. I don't know if they feel that cohesive. Maybe that's wrong of me.
I don't think it's wrong. I liked it about that.
Yeah,
I like that about it. Even I think I really love that each area, like how the second area is just like underwater.
Yeah,
like randomly, but I thought that was really interesting, because I think the idea that like the area you're in is controlled by this literal godlike creature called the paintress, and it's like they're all like separate canvases that she's painted different things onto, is kind of how I sort of saw it, because it's got like a nice painterly style to it. And I sort of always saw it as like we were going into like these different like interpretations and like twisted reimaginings of like real locations, which is what I really liked about it.
Yeah.
But also I think this looks like a dead Tencent live service game. It's equally as good a take. So
yeah, that's true. I hadn't really thought about them as like canvases. I think my brain has just been so like, I'm going to smash through the game.
Yeah,
but
totally
I think
fair.
this, I like listener, have not treated this like a monster. I've actually listened to the dialogue. I've listened to the cutscenes. I'm in on the characters. I think it's just the world maybe hasn't quite hooked me in, but I could be proven wrong later on. I've still got some time.
It goes to some very interesting places later on. Like, I think the level design gets more and more visually interesting as it goes along. So I'll be curious to see what you think.
That's interesting.
As you go on.
And it's done something that I won't spoil. You know what I'm talking about, but there is like a big shake-up, probably roughly where I am.
Yeah.
And I thought that was, I know it's going to be agonizing listening to this, not knowing, so I won't go into it too much, but it does something, I think, within like the framework of the team that you are part of, that is very bold, actually, for like for an RPG, like a turn-based RPG like this, that I hadn't like experienced before. So I thought that was really cool, and that was, I thought that was bold. And I think the fight system, the fighting that you do is good. Yeah. Everyone sort of was banging on about how good it was, and I don't know if it's like the most, an absolute like masterclass in I think everyone was like really hyping this up, in
Yeah.
the Steam reviews and just in general. I think of like, my God, the fighting in this is just like another world of fighting. Really, I think I was saying this to you before. Whereas it's we've just added quick time events to some turn-based combat.
It's just the Mario and Luigi Superstar Saga, which I love. Don't get me wrong, but you are right. I don't think it's like as revolutionary as people were making it out to be. But I do think it's very nice still. It's an enjoyable. Some of the parry windows and some of like the timing of the enemies is a bit piss.
Yeah.
I know that you agree with that too, but yeah, it's engaging enough that every fight feels like I'm like in there, I'm paying attention.
Yes.
That's how I sort of
yeah. And I think with like other JRPGs and RPGs, like thinking of Persona 5 and Mementos, and just in general the dungeons, like each fight eventually you understand you're going to encounter the same set of enemies, all their weaknesses, and you just have to rinse repeat exactly the same moves every time. Whereas this is kind of the same, but you just have to pay more attention. And those fights end more quickly.
Yeah.
Which is good, I think. I like that about it. And there aren't too many of them in each area. Like that you're not just, again, there's no like random, like in Pokemon where you're running around this overworld and you're suddenly getting jumped on, or you have to fight.
Like random encounters.
Yeah, I really like that about this, is you have quite a lot of agency in the fights you do take, and if you don't, like, you kind of have to run into things, like those fights can end quite quickly.
Yeah, I think it's interesting because I think this has a lot of similarities with Avowed in that, again, I think its scope is exactly right. Like, it's another 30-hour RPG. It's not taking up too much of your time. And because the levels are very linear, it's just corridors, right?
Yeah,
we were saying this earlier.
It's just a bunch of corridors.
But because it's so linear and because it's scoped and scaled so correctly, you know that you're not going to be fighting like 400 of the same enemies because each level's only going to take you like 2.5 hours, and the enemies are pretty specific to the location you're in.
Yeah.
So you're almost a bit like, well, I'm only going to fight like 6 of these guys in this area, so I'm not too fussed. Like, you sort of never fighting them enough to get bored of them. Like, just enough to understand their patterns before it introduces something new and challenging.
Yeah, that's
which
true.
I really enjoyed about it.
Yeah, that's so true, actually. I never got too tired of anyone because you are moving on quickly, and I think the variety actually in the combat is good. I think in Persona, and just I keep comparing it to Persona, but I think it probably is like the best comparison for
absolutely.
tiring JRPG combat sometimes. In that there were some systems in that, I hate the word systems, but there's some things in that which I didn't use.
Yeah.
Like the shooting stuff you only really use if like they're flying enemy.
Yeah.
Or something, and you're like, okay, I guess I'll do like 6 damage. This 1,000 HP enemy, just knock them down, and certain things like that. Whereas in this, it's like, there's a rock golem with a big shining gem, and you can shoot that gem, and it will do like a shitload of damage. It's like, that feels great. That's like brilliant. It feels nice.
Yeah.
And there's other like collectible things that I don't really know the names of, like lumines and pictos. I don't know what they do.
Like skills, basically, aren't they?
Yeah, but you can kind of like press buttons to plug them into characters, and you can make your shooty stuff do extra things. And again, clearly, I've not thought a huge amount about them. Like, you only have to do a certain amount of thinking, or none at all. You just plug stuff into each character. It feels quite rewarding anyway.
Yeah.
You don't have to do like some serious like building of your characters, really. Obviously, if you do, like, brilliant, you reap the rewards, but you don't have to engage with it too much, do you?
I'm too dumb to have engaged with that as much as like other people did. Like, I know that there were some like really wild game breaking builds out there, but I got through it just like by muddling through that system. But yeah, I'm glad you're enjoying it. And it's been interesting hearing you get really into it, and same with Avowed as well. So yeah, thank you for a little update on what you've been playing.
That's all right.
It's there you go. There's some exclusive Edge's game opinions in this episode, which is always nice. And that's probably a good segue into talking about the main topic of this, which is you are not a games journalist anymore. You left RPS in January of this year, and now you are doing a separate writing role. And it would just be great to sort of, why don't you tell us what that process was like? Like, what was the motivator for you to leave games journalism?
Ooh. So I think I'd been in it for 7+ years.
Yeah.
And it was my first, we've talked about this before, but it was my first full-time role.
Yep.
And as a games journalist, it's a lot of, you play lots of games all the time. You're kind of always looking for that next thing. Your job is to come up with takes and angles. I kind of done the guide stuff, moved into the staff writing stuff, did the editing stuff, and I think eventually, like, work and play being blended together was brilliant, you know, for a long time. But, you know, I worked remote eventually, you know, in those last however many years. Work and play started to become like tiring.
Yeah.
Basically. I was starting to lose that like motivation to play games in my spare time. Like I'd lost that for a long time, actually. You know, I think some people might think, oh, you lost that within the last couple of months or something. No, I wasn't really playing games in my spare time for probably a number of years, really. You know?
And probably as long as I've known you, one thing I think that always was a comforting thing to know about you and your personality is that you had a life outside of your job, which games journalism kind of doesn't normally accommodate. But you were able to say, okay, well, I'm switched off. You know, I'm not going to play a game tonight for review. I'm not going to pour my own time into this. I'm seeing friends. I'm going out. I'm playing badminton. Like, you were always very good, I think, at doing that. But it is also an indication that you weren't playing games at all for pleasure, were you? Which is part of a problem, I think. Yeah.
It was very rare to be playing a game or to get excited about a game. And those like last few years, I think, of seeing something come out and being genuinely excited for it and thinking, I'm going to give an hour or two each night to this. Because I think you'd finish a working day sort of having played stuff for review and thought about games all day.
Yeah.
I don't want to think about games. I don't want to play anything. I don't want to stare at a screen for another like 2-3 hours.
Yeah.
I know some people that's great and that's brilliant, but for me, I liked having that. I always tried to keep separation.
Yeah.
Throughout all of my time, I could always try and clock off at 5.
Yeah.
If I could, and that helped, I think, kind of keep me in the game for as long as I was in it, which, you know, people have been in it for a long time, much longer, still in it. But I think I'd sort of reached a point where even, you know, finishing at 5 and trying to keep that separation and stuff, I was like, I feel like I'd plateaued. I feel like I'd sort of not achieved everything that I'd wanted, but I suppose in a sense, like, I'd sort of been and done like everything I would have liked out of games journalism. Like, I don't think I wanted to be an editor, you know, like take on that role and lead a site. That didn't interest me really. I liked kind of leading that section and doing the reviews. Like, I really loved reviewing stuff.
Yeah.
But again, I think that also probably contributed in the sense of you're having to give a lot of your time to thinking critically and reviewing games like back to back to back, week to week to week. And it's just like, games then fully became a job in that way.
I think, like, going back to our point about Avowed, it was like a conveyor belt of takes.
Yeah.
That kind of is how I saw what you were doing towards the end of it. And I think it was in particular your last few games you covered were Infinity Nikki, Skull and Bones, Marvel Rivals, like, you know, these games that needed to be covered.
Yeah.
Also, I don't think we've spoken about this since it happened. Remember when you reached out to me a few months before you left and you went, would you like to would you like to review Concord for RPS? And I was like, I'd love to, mate, but actually I don't have the time at the moment. And then like 4 days later, you're like, don't worry about it.
Yeah.
It's not available to purchase anymore. But I mean, did you do you didn't do any Concord coverage, did you?
No.
But that would have been another one you maybe would have had to cover during that period.
God. Yeah, that would have been killer.
But like, you had to find takes about all these games. You had to find the thing to talk about.
Yeah.
And that is hard. That is like, it's tiring to always be seeing things critically to that degree when it's not things that you normally would have been playing, right?
That's it. Yeah, you kind of, especially when I was like a sort of a senior staff writer and a staff writer and that sort of thing, like, obviously I was on reviews and stuff, but a lot of your job at that point is like, I vividly remember like Elden Ring coming out.
Yeah.
I know I was interested in that game anyway, being a Souls liker. But again, it was like, you know, the job was, we need you to come up with ideas each day.
Oh, yeah.
Like constant takes, constant angles to keep traffic ticking over and people clicking on stuff, like anything you can come up with. You know, I was writing about like how the elevators were nice in it and, you know, the messages people could leave in the game and, you know, goats rolling, you know, just you're literally picking like the smallest things and kind of creating something out of it.
Yeah.
And for Elden Ring, I suppose it was quite easy-ish because I liked that. But when you're doing that for games that you just simply don't care enough about, then it becomes taxing and it's your job. So you can't just go to, you know, your manager or, you know, your editor, you know, there's daily meetings you have for your team and they're like, so what have you come up with? And you go, well, nothing. Actually, you can't do that. Like,
no.
You'll get fired quite quickly. So it's, it's about, you know, and it was doing that for games, but it was doing that for like supporter posts and stuff as well. Like I had to generate ideas for other stuff that I was doing. It was just constant idea generation.
Yeah.
But the supporter posts were maybe sort of not a reason that I left, but I think perhaps there is a side of that where I think I realised, like supporter posts for me.
You did a lot of them as well.
Yeah, it was like weekly.
Yeah.
At times, you know, I didn't, but that was when I sort of took on the reviews editor role and my time was just limited.
Yeah.
But I enjoyed the supporter posts. So sometimes I was a bit like, God, I've got to do one.
Yeah.
You know, and I don't have a take this week.
Yeah.
I think that's like a reason why I was like, I just don't have a take. I haven't been playing anything in my spare time.
Yeah.
I've written all the takes I have for the site proper.
Yeah.
But then I sort of found solace sometimes in just writing about badminton or I think we'd played Lethal Company and I just wrote about like the coffee grinder that I'd bought the other day.
I love that piece. That piece was so good.
Thank you. But I think that was when I also realised I like writing not about games.
Yeah.
And for myself and just things that I enjoy. Yeah, and perhaps now I'm just sort of, as I'm talking, I'm sort of discovering this. Like, I think maybe that was also, a step in a shift in my brain.
Can understand why. I think we were talking about this last night over dinner, and it's kind of really resonated with me, this idea of how often you have to view these things in almost like a slightly unnatural way of what is the angle that I can pull from this or can write about. And you were very good at that. I think there's a lot of videos on the RPS YouTube channel that stink of Liam needs to find an angle about this game that's big, but he doesn't really know what he's talking about. There's definitely an Elden Ring or two video or two about that. Starfield ones as well. Anyone where I'd draft in the more like intelligent people in the team, you, Alice Bell, they were the ones where it was like, I don't have a take, so someone else can just say a take for me and I'll just edit it. But that is tiring. It's not, even if you're really good at it, like you were, it takes something out of you to constantly be looking at things through that lens.
Yeah, it was just, I think it just hits you when you just don't have a take that week and you're panicking
Yeah.
There is that panic, there's that franticness. If you're playing this game and you're bashing your head against a wall and you're just like, I simply don't have anything here. And you're like, I need something. And then you're forcing it, and then it's not fun. Then it's like, well, I don't care for this take that I've had to kind of workshop sometimes with the team. And when you don't believe, it's easy to write when you believe in a take and you like the take and it's something
easy.
that matters to you.
Yeah.
But when it's like workshopped and you forced it, it's like miserable to write. You're just trying to fill space, and it's like an opinion that you don't really have sometimes, or you kind of know that it's a bit pants.
Yeah.
It doesn't really have that much weight behind it.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think sort of being an idea generator was a big part of leaving, because eventually you just get tired. And I think, I don't know, I think I mentioned in sort of the leaving post that I did, the one that I wrote.
I'll link that because it's a really lovely piece of writing.
Thank you. Yeah, I think sort of the trip to Japan that I did in 2023 with my friend, and went for however many weeks and hadn't been there in 15 years or something, and that's where my mum's side is, and that sort of thing. And I think when you travel that far and you kind of detach yourself from work and just life in general.
Yeah, absolutely. Literally on the other side of the world, right? Like,
yeah. And you're just like, things are put in perspective. And I think I was like, you know what? I'm clearly not doing great anymore. Like, I'm in my flat and it's quite lonely working remotely for that long. The team is changing. Things are shifting behind the scenes, which I suppose we can touch on a bit too. That's probably a big reason why,
of course,
of leaving. In a way, I've just realised that. But yeah, I think things were just sort of shifting, and I was like, you know what, I'm just not doing too good here. Like, I've got this back injury that has very much been, I've slipped a disc is the back injury. And being someone who was so active, the job very much contributed to that. Sitting like a little shrimp for years at my desk.
Yeah, does make a difference.
And going to play matches in the evening and just doing the 0 to 100, yo-yoing between it, just did it in eventually. And it's just, I just was becoming increasingly isolated, and it was just, I think the gamer network and that I sort of knew and had grown up with, but grown with.
You left after, it was like your first job out of uni, right?
Yeah,
like
in a way.
You did, yeah. It became like your brain finished developing while you were at Gamer Network, like literally, like that's
Yeah, that is true. I did sort of grow up with the company and the Gamer Network, and I saw it change often, and went through lots of redundancy processes, and came out of those, like, thankfully quite safe, and. But yeah, saw lots of people come and go and grieved a lot of that. And and I suppose at this whole big culmination, I was just like, it's in my best interest to try something new, to get out of it. But in particular, I think the shifting in the background, sort of being acquired by like Relics and lots of layoffs happening initially, and then being acquired by Ziff Davis, and again, things shifting, like Alice being let go, and, you had left prior to that, and like Rachel had gone, and Rebecca had moved to VG and at the time, and
the team dynamic had changed a lot. Sort of, we all left around the same time, right? And and
I just saw lots of people go. I've seen constantly that was a recurring theme. Just seeing loads of people that I cared about leave, and the company culture shifting from sort of a family vibe to this is becoming a bit more corporate, and decisions above my pay grade were being made that didn't feel good.
Yeah, I think everyone listening especially will know that the games industry is always sort of in turmoil, the games media especially, and the people who stick with it are incredibly resilient. I think even yourself, like you went through big changes at Gamer Network, and I'm sure everyone who is still in the industry today has been through a lot of changes, redundancies. Like it's an unfortunate part of the industry, but it takes a toll. Like if you have a favorite games website, you will be aware of the high turnover of staff. And it's because of the things we're saying, right? It's because it burns you out. A lot is expected of you. But it's also like you lose your mates. Like these people are mentors as well, not even just mates. Like you lose these people that like you're excited to talk to every day. And that has a toll. And you used the word grief before. And I do think anyone who's like worked with like a colleague who you become friends with and then they leave, it is a type of grief. You log on one morning and they're not on the internal company platform, or the desk opposite you is empty. Like that is hard. So in an industry where the turnover is as high as it is in games media, it makes that even harder, I think.
Yeah, I can sort of vividly remember when like Alice, it was announced, she mentioned that she was leaving. Like there was no way she was staying. Obviously feeling terrible, about it. And then, the day arrives where, we're in that final meeting, her final goodbyes, and just feeling so emotional about it. I remember feeling so shit. Obviously, she was feeling worse, but I think for me, it was like, well, I was losing like my mentor, she was my line manager, but also like someone who had helped when I first, Relics acquired us and I sort of shifted from guides into RPS. Like she was the person who sort of taught me how to write features, and to see that person, as a mate as well, but just sort of be cut sort of so horribly.
Yeah.
I just remember, really mourning that. And feeling very sad. I think I definitely cried. I definitely cried that day. And I was like, I've not cried over others leaving, because I think that they came as maybe less of a shock, or they were kind of more expected, and they were thinking of leaving anyway.
Yeah.
But I think that was not a final straw, but I was like, God, like this is dire. This sucks.
Yeah.
And I can't remember how long after sort of Alice left where I stuck it out, but I think that was a big shift in my mentality.
It wasn't long after, I think, when you started to think of moving on, for sure, or we started talking about it anyway. So you decide to leave. You start to look for jobs. Can you remember how you felt when you were sort of about to take that leap?
I think I was like I think we were playing quite cursed. We were probably playing like Destiny 2, like Lightfall.
Oh, I remember the specific activity we were doing while we spoke about this. It was in one of the seasons we were doing in a Final Shape, where you were jumping between those like bubbles. Can you remember them? And we kept having to run it repeatedly to get a grenade launcher. But I remember us having like hour-long conversations about sort of you being like, I'm ready to jump now.
Yeah, I think I was definitely apprehensive because I was talking to you a lot and sort of trying to figure out what my mind was like around it, and trying to sort of calm myself, I think, by having these talks with you and to figure out where my head was at. But my head was definitely like, I need to leave.
Yeah, you were pretty dead set, I think.
Yeah, I was like, I just don't feel good anymore. Not like, my God, I'm like very depressed, and I think I was not in a good place.
You were just done?
I was just very burned out, and I was a bit like, I need to shift, and I can see the industry not doing too good, and it's probably in my best interest to go. And I think that I was apprehensive, and I remember looking at job boards and just seeing what was out there, really, but not really knowing where I'd fit. I was like, I don't really know where my skills would land me in kind of a job outside of games. Like, it was quite scary, I think, to sort of go from like quite not a casual job, but working games is quite relaxed at times.
Yeah.
It's very fast paced and hard work, but I think the culture and stuff, it is very niche. It's quite unique. And to move into a role that's like quite corporate and for the shareholders, you know, I was a bit nervous of that. I'd never experienced that before. So I was like, well, I don't know, like, what do I do? Do I move into like search engine optimization? Do I do copywriting? Do I what writing roles out there kind of match my skills? So it was quite scary. Yeah, really.
But you did it. You took the leap. And do you want to say a bit about sort of what happened next?
I'm laughing because it's just like it's just such a It didn't sort of go great. Like I took that leap and was quite excited for it. I was going to move into like a copywriting role, and it didn't work out. I sort of won't go into like all of the details around it, but like it just didn't work for like both me and the company that I was working for, and it wasn't anything like crazy or anything like that. It was just like, this isn't for me.
It wasn't really the job sort of like you expected, I think, is maybe the fair way of saying it. And I think they sort of had different expectations, and it just
it was a bit like it's best if I leave and they find someone that's better suited to it in a way, and just to cut ties, I think. But there was a lot of umming and ahhing, you know. I think it was only within 2 weeks I was like, I need to go. But there was umming and ahhing over, you know, whether I could sort of switch my role within that place, and do I stick it out, you know, conversations with my parents and stuff, my friends, but just thought, this is healthier for me, like mentally, just to leave and try and find something new. So I was suddenly sort of thrust into like, you know, I thought I'd found a new career path, and thrust into like unemployment essentially. Obviously I'd made the decision to do that. But it was a bit like, right, I'm unemployed now. I've not been in that position before. I've got kind of like a mortgage to pay and a flat to keep alive, and that was quite scary. But I suppose within, you know, that first month or something, it was quite nice, I think, to relax.
Well, you were so burned out. That's the thing, right? Like, it gave you a little bit of space to sort of like, I guess, feel the effects of what it had been like to work in the industry for so long. And it was quite nice. I suppose there was like, it was just a bit of relief to sort of not have work for a while. But then it starts to get, you know, quite scary. The anxiety kicks in, and you're like, I need to make money, and I need to find a job, and like went through. Well, I think I was on like month 4. I can't remember. Sort of, I was unemployed from like sort of early-ish February till about late May. Yeah, it was a while. It was
quite a while. And that was a really difficult time. Like super hard. I suppose I won't go into like how, you know, the woe is me, but it was just very, you know, feeling quite purposeless. You know, the days are very quiet. Like it gets to 2 p.m. and you're like, everyone's at work. I'm not at work. That sucks. Like I want to earn money and feel like I have a career, and you kind of, I don't know. It's an awful time, and there's an anxiety sort of rising, and you're kind of making CVs and doing silly cover letters, and you're just applying to like you early on you're sort of keeping it quite curated, and then later you're like, oh my god, you know, I need to apply for anything and everything, and you're keeping this spreadsheet, and you're just striking off stuff constantly. You've not heard from, you've been rejected from loads of things. You've done tasks for folks and you don't hear anything. you fail them, you go to interviews and you think, oh, I've done really well, and you don't get it. You're kind of constantly managing, you're constantly hoping and dreaming, because that's a way of keeping sane.
Mm-hmm.
It's a way of keeping yourself from spiraling, I suppose, is a better way of putting it.
Mm-hmm.
But you're also trying to limit how much you're hoping and dreaming, because you need to keep a realistic side.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just this constant bounce between those mind states. And then in between that, it's like, I just feel quite anxious. And so, yeah, but I was lucky enough I could move back in with my parents for a bit. They live like not very far from me.
Yeah.
And I was lucky they sort of took me in. I think I was like a month or so in and was like, I need to be around people here.
Yeah.
And they gave me a sense of just routine.
Yeah.
Which was really nice.
Mm-hmm.
And we could go for walks together. I just had like my day.
Yeah.
And yeah, sort of went through that, and we eventually got a new job.
Yep.
Basically. Which
was very relieving, I think, for all of us. And
yeah.
And it's a writing gig, and obviously we don't have to go into what it is, but it's sort of writing, but not about games.
Yeah.
And you seem pretty happy. You've been there for a little bit now. Yeah.
Yeah, like the people are lovely.
Yeah.
It's like, where I work and it's hybrid, so I'm like going in,
into
I
an
like
office again, right?
Yeah, I'm going into an office again, and I like the commute. The writing is not about games, and that's fine.
Yeah.
It's maybe not as like, it's not something that I know huge amounts about sometimes, but it's quite interesting having to do some research into it. And I don't know, it's a different style of writing, and I'm just happy with it.
Yeah.
It's a bit, it's more sort of corporate leaning, but that's fine.
Well, it's different, right? I think that's what you're after.
Yeah, it's just different. I'm writing different things, and I think the main thing is that I can, it gets to 5 and I clock off, and it, I can just switch off.
Yeah.
It's just work leaves my brain, and I sort of feel like I can really, not that, I suppose before when I was in games journalism, I was still quite good at clocking off at 5, but I think there was always a sense of like you're still latently keeping up with stuff.
Yeah.
Or you're trying to play stuff and you keep generating takes, you can't turn it off. Whereas this time there was an element of still generating takes, but I don't have to do anything with them anymore.
Yeah.
And I sort of liked leaving the door, at 5, and just my time is my time fully again, I think.
I think that was the biggest thing for me when I left. And like, I did games journalism like part-time. I did it a lot during work hours when I was at Push Square, freelancing. But I would say that like I was sort of doing games journalism pretty much full-time from 2020 until 2023, like start of 2020 to end of 2023. So like 18 months actual full-time at Push Square. Yeah, like I said, I did have a job, but there was nothing for me to do, so I was just doing Push Square videos all day. When I left, it felt like a relief, because it'd be interesting to talk a bit about this. We all cared so much. Like if you're on a team in games media, you're all putting 150% into it. You're all aware that these things are tumultuous even, and it's harder and harder every year to get views and to get people to actually like stick around and read websites. And all of you are sort of like rallying together, and it's a group effort. And I always felt like I need to do good for the sake of everyone here, because I like everyone and we're all sort of aiming for the same goal. And that sticks with you. Like, I would go on holiday with Yoli, and I used to have Slack on my phone, and I would check Slack all the time. I would check games websites. I would be thinking, right, what am I doing when I get back to my desk on Monday at 9 a.m. well, I'd start work at 7:30 most days, to be honest. Like, what emails am I sending? What game am I downloading? What video am I making? But now, I don't think about anything like that. I don't think about work when I walk out the door.
That's very healthy.
It's nice, right?
Yeah.
But I think it's because there was that pressure. Like, but Greg's is fine.
Yeah.
Fine. Do you know what I mean? Like, Greg's is okay if I don't think about it after I walk out the office door. Does that ring true with you as well? Since you've left? Yeah.
Yeah. I think there is a really strong sense of like the company I work for, they'll be fine.
Yeah.
You know, when I leave work behind, and I think being part of like RPS and Metabomb before that, you're part of the lifeblood of that site.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
And you are all working towards a common goal, and I think you're putting a piece of yourself into each thing you're writing or creating a video on or whatever, and that is meaningful to you, and you kind of want to keep up that almost that skill level, and make sure you're delivering. You're only as good as your last bit of writing or whatever, that kind of saying in some way. I think that's right. You kind of want to just keep up that quality, or I certainly felt like I wanted to.
Yeah.
And you kind of feel like you owe it to the readership as well. Like you're kind of on top of things, that you know what you're talking about and everything.
Yeah.
I think I deeply cared about the stuff that I put live. The work that I'd sort of edited, the amazing writers that I worked with, and the supporter post that I did, even the music recommendations and the Sunday papers, that was all stuff you thought hard about. Like, it was cool putting yourself into that and seeing it go live on like, it's almost a streamlined site, this like little ecosystem you're part of.
Yeah.
Whereas now it's very different, sort of working in a bigger company with lots of moving parts, and it's not quite as you're not in a little ecosystem bubble of this you're a lifeblood of a single site.
Yeah.
And that's been weird and a bit different, but good in a way. It means that I'm just not. It's not I don't care about what I'm doing. It's just a different thing, and it's quite nice.
Do you have any thoughts on how much of yourself you have to put in to your writing when you're a games journalist? Like, how much of a public-facing figure you are? Like, that's your face at the top of every post. And the internet at large has the capability of responding to the things you wrote. Like, do you have any thoughts about the toll or the position that puts you in as a writer?
Yeah, I think there were certainly times where you might write something and you definitely think about how is it going to be received. And there's certainly like pressure there, and perhaps a bit of like anxiety. But I think perhaps that was something I was quite good at, in a sense of separating again. I never cared a huge amount for my like social media presence.
No, you were good at that.
I didn't really care for that. I almost felt like I would read the comments, but sometimes there were times where I was like, actually, it's just healthier if I don't do that.
Yeah.
And I think really I didn't. Most of the time, I didn't worry about that. I think I just wrote for me and for the readership, I suppose. But I think a lot of it was just writing cool thoughts for me. It was my take and my angle, and I wanted to write like I don't know how to describe it, but like a beautiful piece. I wanted it to flow nicely and read well and get all my thoughts on a page. Yeah. And if it's received well, great. If it doesn't, I won't know because I'm not reading the comments. I'm not on social media. I'm going to log off at 5.
Yeah.
And, I'm not. Some people have that big social media presence and kind of want to build a following, and it does pay dividends in that you kind of get better known and doors open for those people, I think.
Yeah. who make themselves like a brand.
Yes, you make yourself a brand, and but I never really cared for that. Like,
it's a tricky one, isn't it? Because I think the way you did it was better, and I think it was definitely healthier. I did not have that approach whatsoever. Like, I think because I was YouTube first, there was more of an expectation that you put yourself forward as like, you are the personality, you need to put yourself into these things in a sort of different way. Like, my face was on camera a lot in the stuff I was doing. I found the biggest thing I think for me leaving games media is not being judged so much, because people will say don't read the comments. I don't know how people don't. Like, when I would log in to YouTube to upload a video, the comments were right there. And sometimes if I'd write an article, you would look through the homepage and you'd see the little icon that said like 30 comments, and you'd be like, fuck, what does that mean? And you can't help that, or I couldn't anyway. I couldn't help that curiosity. And every time it would fucking bum me out. Like, every time it'd be like, what are some hits I can maybe talk about? Well, every time I would do a video on YouTube, people would call me an idiot. And then when that video was put on the website, people would complain that there was videos on the website. It's like, great. I don't know what you want me to do with that information. I'm employed to make videos, and you're all whinging that there's videos on the website. Like, thanks.
Yeah.
I once wrote an article about Far Cry 3 in which I explicitly said that it had a real white savior trope in it that is not aged well, and at the time wasn't analysed or criticised enough. And then someone called me a racist for not going into that deeper, which
Bonkers.
Is like, what? But I think the worst offender was maybe month 1 on the job. I had to, part of, unfortunately, doing video work, sometimes you have to do like list features. Like, I had to do a list feature about like games that were upcoming. And Diablo Immortal was coming out. It was a huge thing. Like, it was the first Diablo game for a while. All I did was mention Diablo Immortal was coming out, and I got the shit kicked out of me in the comments for mentioning Diablo Immortal. And I think because the video title was like best games coming out this month. But instead of someone looking at that and thinking, well, whatever, it's like, this has to happen, right? My job was to make videos that sat on every page. Like, my job was a bit weird at RPS. Like, it wasn't YouTube first, it was website first, and it was videos that could be put across a lot of articles. And everyone in the comments just like ripped into me. And that does take a toll on you. Like, it takes a toll knowing that everything you do is going to be criticized by thousands of people who have the privilege of not being identifiable. And the mental health burden that has on you is like heavy. And it's so nice now to do something and know that if I do something, like 4 people will be able to have a comment on it, and they won't, say awful things about the way I talk. I mean, you look at the top rated, the top most viewed video I did for Rock Paper Shotgun, which is still the most viewed video on the channel, which is an Elden Ring beginner's guide.
Classic, yeah.
I had a speech impediment for a long time. Over the pandemic, I was able to resolve it, but I was still learning how to re-speak and say certain vowels and sounds when I started RPS, and I was struggling a bit to say the ing sound at the end of Elden Ring.
Right.
And I think I said Elden Ring. Top 5 comments with thousands of upvotes are people laying into me for not being able to say that right.
It's just miserable, isn't it?
Do you know
horrible,
what I mean?
Yeah.
And like, that was for me one of the main reasons why I was like, I don't think people understand how much it takes it out of a person when you're working 12-hour days for not much money, and then you finally put something out and everyone's basically like, fuck you, you suck.
Yeah.
It's like, great, yeah, I think I'll do this for longer, actually. I think this is a really good life decision for me to put all my effort into things where people are like, yeah, this sucks, dude. Thanks. How about I come to your work and sit behind you when you're programming and be like, yeah, I know it's working, but I think it's shit.
Yeah.
You'd be like, fuck off, who cares what you think?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I suppose for you, it was, you're putting your body, like, people can see you. Like they can see, they can listen to you. Like it's a lot more like, I was going to say like full frontal.
It is. It is more vulnerable, I would say.
Yeah. Whereas for me and writing, I think it's just some words on a page at the end of the day, and I'm putting, I suppose, my take and my voice on a page, but that's as much as you're kind of getting from me. Like you don't get to see me and that sort of thing. And I think that's quite scary, that video element. And you can kind of hide behind the words in a way, if that makes any sense.
I guess you did. I think you were better at keeping an arm's length though, because you were on camera for like Inventory Space, the series we did at RPS.
Yeah, that is true.
And there was loads of videos we did together. I just think you were healthy enough to not be like, I think I'll wade into the toilet. Like I know that thing's a toilet, but I think you were sensible enough to be like, I'm not going to look for turds.
Yeah.
It's fine.
Yeah.
Like we liked it, we did it, it goes live, and you go off and you move on. Whereas I'm like, no, I think I'll put myself through this again today. I think I'll read all the comments again.
Yeah, I think I was definitely a bit of like a sicko for, I liked watching numbers go up. If like a page did well or something, trended, or our videos did well for whatever reason, or
that was always nice.
That was nice. Like I would definitely sort of stay tuned into like performance.
Yeah.
But I tried not to get too caught up in everyone else's chatter.
Yeah.
Well, certainly I think there was a part of me that simply didn't care, because I think I was like, if I was happy with what I put live, then I'm happy.
Yeah, and I think for me, it was always really lovely when like you or someone else on the team would message and be like, that video was great, by the way, or the article was really nice, or things like that. And also I'm whinging, but the comments on RPS were nice.
Yeah.
I think the people who were in the comments, like especially the people who supported the site, I would say 99% of them were just like good hangs.
Yeah.
And that made it much easier. I think we had a nicer comment section than most other websites.
Yeah, I agree. I think actually that shows in like the Sunday papers and the what are we playing each weekend. And,
what are we playing? How everyone would just get in there and just chat. That was lovely. I used to love reading that.
Yeah, and like we had lovely comments under the Inventory Space stuff. And,
yeah, really nice.
I think that hit home. If for each leaving post that happens, like they're quite sad.
Yeah.
People are leaving, but I think that's there's the commenters under them are they're really nice. Yeah, really lovely, like send-offs, and your writing affected me in this way, and thanks for the words essentially and how they made me feel. And I remember sort of after the leaving post that I did, reading those comments through. I still look through them sometimes.
Yeah, I do on my leaving post as well.
Yeah, and I'm just like, yeah, that was really lovely.
Yeah.
And I remember getting choked up over some of them and not really realising, I think, because I'd had that arm's length, and I knew that I was writing stuff that I liked, but there's always, I suppose, an element of, well, do other people like it?
Yeah.
And that was, that some commenters being like, thank you so much for what you did. I really miss the writing. I think it was like Davey C, and sorry, I have literal screenshots on my phone, and I feel bad for not like being able to remember the names, but just a couple I remember screenshotting because they were just so lovely.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, like it's amazing that I've kind of affected you in that way.
Yeah, there was like we always used to call him or them rather Brian the dog commenter, Calf maybe, they were always dead lovely. Seeker X, always really lovely. There was definitely like people you would recognize in there and be like, oh, here they are, like here's my little pal who always like makes a nice comment about whatever I'm writing.
Yeah, and I think it was like Mr. B or something, and Davey C, I think. They sound like a little duo.
They do actually, rhyming names,
but some that you sort of didn't quite realise maybe it had such an impact on them. They maybe hadn't sprung up in some of the posts you'd done, and they were like, thank you so much. I think one of them was like, we didn't share like a huge taste in games, but you always, made me interested in what you were writing, and you were sort of
It's like the greatest compliment you can be getting.
Very
like
spot
given,
on.
really.
Yeah, and I was like, oh, that's so lovely. Like,
Mhm.
thank you. Like, I didn't realise that I was doing that for you.
Yeah.
And it's quite nice to hear it.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, we did have a nice community.
Yeah.
We did.
So, one thing, I've mentioned this up top, we talked about a little bit, is how your relationship with games changes when you leave the industry.
Yeah.
Now, we've touched on this a bit. Do you want to talk a bit more about that? Because I think it is an interesting part about leaving. And I feel like it's something I had to recover from. Like, it was interesting starting this podcast because we started Indie Venture. I was still at RPS when we recorded the first 2 episodes of this. Like, we were prepared to continue this and keen to do it. And I think because I had this straight away, I was still plugged in and still playing indie games when I left RPS and started Greg's. But I would say maybe only the last 6-7 months have I felt actual joy playing games again in a way that feels healthy. Like, I no longer feel now like I'm rushing through things just to have a take.
Yes.
I'm just finding what I actually enjoy and brings me happiness and spending as much time with it as I want to.
Yeah.
And normally what I'm finding is that I'm spending more time with things and having more of an emotional connection with it. And that's lovely. And I think that's something that you can't really have when you're full-time in games unless you literally make it your entire life.
Ugh.
Yeah.
100% agree.
Yeah.
It's lovely like hearing that actually from you because it sounds so healthy. You know, your relationship with games now.
And you watch me play Fantasy Life R, you're like, nothing healthy about
like,
this.
I sort of see you playing like some like, I don't know what it is on Steam.
Squeak Ross.
Squeak Ross, whatever the fuck it's called, and like like a trading card simulator of like, oh no, that's
you did
Liam,
see me
playing
you did see me playing Pokemon TCG Pocket earlier while we're in an art museum, and I think you're a bit like, you're right, pal.
Yeah, it's like, oh, I'm not sure about this one, but I'll be really polite actually. It's like, oh, I've got some friends who play that and I'm also unsure about how it feels.
They're also freaks, Liam.
I think you're right in that you can't, I don't know, that having like a relationship with games, being a games journalist or playing them outside of doing the journalism side, like you kind of have to know life it. In a way. That's not entirely accurate, but you know what I mean?
No,
like
I think there is something to that.
Like, I think the people, you know, they're extremely dedicated. You know, those people that play games, you know, lots of people on the RPS team right now, you know, loads of, you know, I'm sure other teams, like they're so dedicated to the job.
Yeah.
And they love it so much, and they're constantly playing loads of things, and that is your spare time.
Yeah.
And for them, it's like, you know, they enjoy it, and fair enough. So I guess it is healthy for them, but I think for a lot of us, it becomes a bit like, this is a lot. Sort of playing games outside of games media, that's tough. And I couldn't do that. Really, I didn't do that. You know, initially I was. When I first joined the industry,
absolutely.
I remember like playing all the Yakuza games in my spare time. Playing Persona in my spare time in my room and not really interacting with people and just enjoying that.
But it's exciting, right? Because you're like, I'm having fun.
Yeah.
Again, we were saying this last night, we were chatting about it, like, I'm being paid to play.
Yeah.
To do this very childlike, you know, joyous activity.
Yeah.
That's my job. That's fantastic. That's so exciting.
Yeah. I think that, like, idea generation at the time is also exciting in that your takes may not be that good at that point in your career, but you want to like impress and you want to get stuff on the site. And I think for me early on, I was in guides. I think when I was still playing those games in my spare time, I think there's always a part of me that wanted to move out of guides and into features writing and seeing other people do that and being like, I want your job. I want to go to events and write cool things and move out of guides. I think, I've been in it for 3 years or something, and I was like, I feel like I've done this and plateauing a bit. And I sort of had a little bit of an in with like Donlan and Eurogamer and the features there, and I was like, I had a little taste for it. I was like, oh, this is nice. So I think idea generation there was fun, and it was like a way out almost. But yeah, it burns out eventually. And I think now, back on topic, I think I feel like I'm starting to emerge from the burnout. And that's taken several months.
Yeah.
Well, longer probably if you look way back, when I was still a games journalist, I was saying like I wasn't really doing that much anymore, playing games, and now I'm finally getting a proper itch to.
Yeah.
Like and that's due, I think, to moving past burnout, but also moving where I game in my house, in my flat. Like I'm trying to move from my like Steam library and the little office space that I have, to like my sofa and my TV and having an Xbox and having a controller and just being able to slouch, and almost go back to how I used to play games when I was younger, 360 in my room, controller in hand. Like I played on the PC, of course I did, but that was more relaxed and more me time. And you're not kind of like, back at uni, I used to play like League and CS, and I had this whole competitive side that I really loved. But that's a lot of like hunching over your like screen and sliding a mouse around, and it's a bit like, okay, this is a bit intense. So I'm sort of going back to how I used to play games, and I think that's really helping.
Yeah. Absolutely. There's something about, we'll say it again, we've been speaking about this privately outside of this podcast, but it's not having to have a take.
Yeah.
It's knowing that you don't, like, there's not a big AAA that's going to land in your inbox next week, and that you don't have to write 6 articles about the thing you're playing. Like, I have a big thing now where I'm like, I'm going to play this and not talk about it to anyone. Like, I have no take. I finished Tears of the Kingdom recently. Probably one of the best games I've ever played. I'm not going to talk about it. Who cares? Do you know what I mean? Like,
it's just for you.
Yeah, it's just for me. Like, what a lovely thing. And amazing, really, to come out of that and be like, wow, I don't have to think of like, what's the take on this that smarter people than me have already had at other websites. Like, Donlan's written about Tears of the Kingdom. I don't need to give my take. Do you know what I mean?
You're putting yourself down, but I think...
But you know what I mean?
I know
I
what
think
you mean.
I think there's something to that. Like, and also sometimes, like, I might have independently thought of 3 takes that were quite interesting, but other people just got there first. Like, that's part of it too, sometimes, I think. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's quite interesting you played Tears of the Kingdom, actually.
85 hours.
85 hours.
I fucking could not stop playing that game, Ed.
It
drove Yoli insane. Because that game does not have many sound effects.
No. Yeah, well, yes.
Yeah.
My take is not great on Tears.
Yeah,
I love that we were talking about not having a take, and I'm like, yeah, well, what my take is that I actually bounced off it quite quickly. I think, but then I have, like, I think I started playing it when I was still a games journalist.
Yeah, you did, yeah.
But and I suppose we didn't cover Nintendo, but that was a rare thing. Like, we didn't cover that, so I didn't need to come up with a take or write about it in a way. Yeah. That was quite nice. But
I still wrote about it for RPS when it came out. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, well, that's pretty good.
I don't even know why. I remember there is an article on RPS really with me writing about Tears of the Kingdom. Yeah.
I mean, that's quite nice, though, actually. You got to do that.
Yeah, it was
that's
quite
a
nice,
rare opportunity in a way.
I think, again, because I managed to link it to a PC game.
Yeah.
It's like Gary's mod.
Yeah,
like, that's cool. That'll do.
That's the play, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, my take is that I don't like building stuff, so I bounced off.
Totally fair. Totally fair.
I actually don't want to build like a raft with glue. Like, I just want to cross the river, please.
He's me being like, ha, sickles.
Yeah.
.jpeg.
And I know that, like, my take is quite tiring. But yeah, anyway, like, but the fact that again, that's an example, I think, of a game where I didn't need to share that take, or and I don't need to share a take on Avowed or Claire Obscure. I've just, I suppose we have talked about it, but I didn't need to write anything.
No.
And I suppose there were times where I was like, oh, I could write about this, but then I don't have that inclination anymore.
I think that's the moment where it feels freeing.
Yeah.
Is when you're like, you don't even think about writing about it anymore.
Yeah, I was like, or I did think, I was like, oh, okay, I could write 500 here. And then I was like, I don't want to. I actively do not want to do that. I think I mentioned this to you yesterday over dinner, like the writing that I want to do now and the only writing that I have an inclination for is for myself.
Yeah.
Not that I wasn't writing for myself when, at RPS, a lot of it kind of was. But it's off the topic of games. It's like keeping up blogs, sort of just blog posts for myself over like unemployment, writing about things I'd seen or done just to practice like the skill of it, and to put thoughts on paper and and I'm sort of trying to do one for this pod, this episode too, and that's been quite nice. It's just not really games related at all. It's just my experience with stuff, and
it's nice. And that'll be we'll be publishing that on the website. Is that the idea? Yeah. So hopefully by the time this goes live, that'll be on our website. So
hopefully
we'll link that as well. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I'm like, oh god, I've got to.
Sorry to give you a writing deadline after everything we've spoken about. I'm like, well, Ed, I'm now your editor. We're not paying you for this.
It's like, oh shit. What's my take on the life that I've had?
Ed, I need a tight 500 on your life, please, so we can make sure you see a message.
Yeah. But that is the thing. Like I've enjoyed just going back. Well, not even going back to. I never really wrote for myself.
No.
Pre-games journalism.
It's interesting.
I like writing as a skill, and I like writing. I think there's a slight anxiety over will I lose that muscle flexing that I did for like 7 years.
I think it can atrophy. I'm finding that.
And I kind of want to just keep it up a little bit, just so I don't lose that side.
Yeah.
But there's also like that motivation where I'm like, I don't want to do that about games anymore.
Yeah.
And I don't think I don't know if I'll ever recover that. I think I'm kind of done with games writing.
Yeah.
Unless it's like, we're going to pay you a large sum of money and we kind of want you to, review this game that hasn't been released yet, and that sort of. I'm fine to do that. I can bring it out again.
Yeah.
But like I think I'm just need some space from it.
Yeah.
Because it's kind of crazy that it's been so long. And I'm just about starting to play games. I'm still playing them a bit like a monster.
Yeah.
It feels like I'm sometimes rushing through stuff. Like Avowed, I was like rushing through it because I didn't care for a lot of it.
Yeah.
But there are times where I'm like, I could slow down here. I don't need to be racing through this. Like a bit like in Claire Obscure, like I'm kind of sprinting through a lot of it, and I'm like, oh, I could slow down here.
Yeah.
There's no rush. I don't need to come up with a take or an angle or see enough of the game to produce things. So that's been interesting. In kind of my subconscious games journalism mind clicking into gear, and I'm still playing things, and I still have a lot of dipping in and out of games and not engaging with them much. I'm still trying to force myself to play things still sometimes.
It's interesting.
And I'm like, well, I don't need to do that anymore. Like, I think when you're at RPS or any other site, you're like, you're constantly searching for like the new thing.
Yeah, always.
You're trying new stuff out. Like Steam Next Fest is like an amazing example of that. You're just trying so much stuff out.
I don't even engage with Next Fest anymore, really, and that's been a net benefit to my life. Like, I think it's great. I think it's wonderful. I think demos are really important, but it's nice just waiting until the game comes out.
Oh yeah. And that is probably another thing actually we've not touched on. Being out of sort of games journalism is being out of touch with a lot of stuff.
Of course.
Um,
yeah. That's a big thing, actually, about leaving. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's just occurred to me that, like, you were talking about it, I think it's just, you know, your sort of yearly calendar when you're at RPS or other sites, like, you've got Summer Jeff Fest at a certain time, you've kind of got Gamescom, you know, you've got these, like, big events that are happening, lots of announcements, like, you kind of, your calendar is set, you have your quiet periods and your busy periods, and, you know, I don't actually know the date for Gamescom this year. I genuinely, like, I know roughly when it's happening.
Yeah.
I couldn't tell you, like, the exact weekend, the exact date.
I couldn't tell you when the Jeff Keighley presentation is for it. I think it's next week, Gamescom, but I couldn't tell you anything more about that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The fact that we both don't know that, like, we would, you know...
Well, we'd be working until 2 a.m.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I might be there. You know, I might genuinely be there.
You'll be flying to, is it Hamburg or Cologne?
Cologne.
Cologne, that's it, yeah.
And
that's where you'd be next week.
Yeah, and it's like I'm not even thinking about it. To be honest, I don't know if I care. I'll just watch a YouTube roundup of, like, here's the best trailers.
100%. Yeah.
And I'll be like, oh, all right, skip through, you know, how YouTube does, like, the little segments at the bottom of the timeline, and be like, oh, okay, that's the one I'm interested in. Whereas obviously you're obligated when in your job, when you're a journalist, to watch, like, almost all of them.
Oh, and write articles.
About them. You know, what's your take on the whole show and all the games? And it's like, I just actually don't.
No, it was shit.
Yeah, it was
like so little in it that was interesting to me.
Yeah. And you, like, some years would be brilliant.
Absolutely.
You know, you get some cool years, cool games, you know, and Resi might be announced, like, you know, you are a Resi sicko, and that's exciting. But yeah, I remember sort of doing, like, Summer Games Fest a couple of years, and, you know, going out to LA and that sort of thing. And I think I just caught a couple of, like, slightly dud years. You know, like, I think one of the biggest games when I was at Summer Games Fest was the Callisto Protocol.
Oh God.
You know, and at the time you're like, oh my God, you know, like, a Call of Duty man has set up a studio and this looks quite good. And, you know, people haven't fully played the whole thing yet.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was the biggest game at one of them, and you're like, oh, you know, that's a bit.
The only thing I remember you coming back and, like, telling me about was the Sonic side-scrolling game they did, like the 3D one where you could play as Sonic and his weird little friends, and you being like, it's dog shit.
Yeah, yes.
What was that even called?
I could see it in my head, but that was not great.
Who cares? Sonic Cream's Revenge, or whatever that was called.
Yeah.
Well, this might be an interesting segue into my final question for you in this chat, which is there anything you miss about it?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think I still mourn it or grieve it.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I still think about it a lot, especially having started a new job and been in it for, like, 2-3 months. There's naturally, you're going to be comparing, you know, your 7+ years previous to it. And, you know, I miss the good, you know, all the travel. You know, I was lucky enough to travel all over the world and preview cool games and big games, you know, going to, like, Paris to play, like, the Elden Ring DLC and and just being like, this is fucking great. Yeah. That's so cool. And being like, I'm so lucky to be able to do this. And just putting yourself into the writing, and because I loved writing, I do love writing, and I love that side of it, and being part of a cool team, you know, whatever iteration it was, you know, lots of passionate people, and working with talented writers and
just smart people,
really, like,
so good,
really smart, like really switched on. And especially when I was reviews ed, it was like you're working, you could sort of help, like, build some talent as well. That was, like, quite a cool thing. And yeah, I do look back at it a lot and think, like, I was so lucky, and I do miss a lot of it. But I think that's, like, the idealized side of it. There's a lot of it, I think, where you kind of ignore the burnout and the tight deadlines and that side. But when it was good, you know, I think one of my favorite years was 2023. it felt like a really nice time. Again, that was just when I think I almost hit kind of like peak. I think I was senior staff writer at that point. I wasn't reviews ed, and I felt at that time, like, you know, I felt like I was quite good at my job. Not to sound like big-headed or anything, but I felt like I felt settled. I felt quite comfortable. And I felt quite confident in what I was able to do, and, you know, I was trusted to just travel about. You know, I was doing so much traveling and seeing new things, and, you know, I look back on that and think, like, you know, my job right now doesn't involve any travel. And but maybe that's the side I miss the most. I keep talking about it, just seeing different parts of the world, interacting, I think, with sort of developers that are so passionate about what they're doing, especially like the indie developers. Remember, you know, vividly, like, speaking to the Cassette Beasts.
Jay Bayless.
Yes. Yes. I was going to be like the Cassette Beasts person, and I was like, I feel terrible. And they were so nice and so passionate, and just sitting there in a nice booth. I think it was a Gamescom, and just asking them fun questions and just having a chat whilst we're playing the game, and just being like, this is so lovely.
Yeah.
A lot more so, I think, than a lot of like the AAA stuff, where it feels a bit more like you're just running between appointments, these things, and
you're getting stock answers to like the media trained, and
where you know, like when you meet an indie developer and they're just really pleased to be showing their game off to you.
Oh, absolutely. That's why I've kept up interviewing them as often as I can for this podcast.
Yeah,
because it's just so nice to hear them talk earnestly about this thing that they love doing.
Yeah.
And
I miss that a lot. There's, you know, I do think about it a lot still.
Yeah,
I do. I suppose that's also just latently because, you know, I've got friends who are still in it. I still play games. I enjoy it. Is a hobby of mine, and I still enjoy it. And you know, that I think I will always think about it in some capacity.
Oh, yeah. I mean, same. I agree with you 100%. Like, I knew it was my time to leave when I did, but I mourned the hell out of it. It was a really difficult decision to make. I'd wanted to be a games journalist since I was 11 years old. Like, I'd always thought in my mind, one day I'm going to try and do this for real.
Yeah.
And I finally did it. Like, the elation I felt when I got the email saying I'd been hired from RPS. Like, Yoli always laughs that the week or the 2 weeks between when I did my interview to when I got the email saying I got the job, she would walk in my office every day and I'd be lying on the floor. Like, just miserable, because I just wanted to be put out of my misery. I just was convinced I hadn't got it, and then I was in the bath actually when I got the email.
My favourite place to listen to this podcast.
I don't think we've ever actually said on the podcast.
I've admitted publicly now.
It's in there now. Yes, it's canonical. It's law that Ed listens to this podcast while in the bath, to the point where for his birthday last year, I bought him a bath bomb.
Yeah, you did, yeah.
But yeah, in the bath, in the Indie Venture tub, and I was like, one of the happiest moments of my entire life was getting that email saying you've been hired, and in that first day, logging on and being like, oh, you know, I'm putting my image in the CMS, and there's me on the author's page. Like, I'm writing for Rock Paper Shotgun. Like, this is a prestigious website that I've been reading for like 8 years. Like, this is the website that made Peter Molyneux cry in an interview. Like, it's got a lot of history to it. But yeah, it was so amazing to be like, my job is to play video games. Like, I loved when people said, what do you do? I'd be so excited to be like, I work for a games website and I play games for a living. And that's just an inherently fun thing to tell people that you do. Like, I felt so lucky. And I'm the same. I'll always look back at it with such fondness of like, I love my job now. I really genuinely do. But there was a period of time where, you know, I went to Capcom to see Resident Evil 4 before anyone else had ever seen it. And I went to America. Like, they would fly me to America to speak to cool developers and play cool things. And what an incredible thing that I got to do for a bit. Like, I got to just be a kid with a bunch of other adults who were also getting to be kids. And together we just got to be our childlike selves and make cool shit and talk about this shared interest we all had. What a privilege to be able to do that for as long as we did, right? Like, and even if it was tough, and it was tough, and even if it burned out, and even if it kind of was soured by the end of it to the point where, you know, I don't know if I'll ever be able to make a video again, I wouldn't change it.
No.
I don't know if you agree, but...
I agree. I don't think there's any regret there or any, you know, like, oh, that I wouldn't do that again. Like, I loved it. I did. Like, there were obviously times I was like, this sucks, but I look back on it really fondly. And I think you're right. Like, I felt so privileged. Like, I look back at just, people being like, what do you do? And it was so, like, fun to be like, well, I just write about video games for a living, actually. And you'd always get that response of like, my son would love what you do. Oh,
the amount of like mums that I would tell them about that and be like, you get paid to play games, and my son plays a lot of Fortnite, so is it a bit like the people he watches on YouTube? I'm like, well, not quite, you know, I'm not problematic.
No, like, I'm not Ninja.
I am actually Ninja. I don't know whether anyone knows that. This is what Ninja did next. Yeah, well, that'd be quite a nice place to end it on, actually, is unless there's anything else you'd like to say about your time.
I don't know. I was like, I sort of postured as if I wanted to say something, but I don't know. I think it was, I wouldn't take it back.
Yeah.
I definitely wouldn't. But I don't think I would go back. I think I during unemployment, there was definitely a part of me that had regret. It was like, shit, like, I've left that job that was really cool. I've sort of, this hasn't worked out. Like, I want back in. Like, I was good at that and I enjoyed that, and I get me back in. I had that for a long time. I clinged on to that hope of maybe I'll get let back in.
Yeah.
And now, I'm in a different job, and I sort of look back on that and I think, there is definitely a part of me that longs for like the good times, but I know that that's not where I'm at anymore. And I think where the people that we were all in it together at that time, we've all moved on.
Yeah.
Or, they may still be there, but it's just different now,
Yeah. I think what I was looking for, to get a little bit real, I think I was always looking to belong. I think I was looking to find my tribe, to find people that had the same approach and the same appreciation for the thing I really loved.
Yeah. And
I think it says a lot, like, we've come to Manchester to see each other for the weekend.
Yeah.
Rebecca and Rachel travel to see, all of us travel to see each other multiple times a year. Like, you're coming to my wedding in November, like, all three of you are. And so is, Stephen Tilby, who I worked with at Push Square. Like, I think it's that belonging that is the thing I've really taken away from it. Of like, you make such a close connection with these people. And I think you find that as a lot, like, if you listen to other games podcasts and they talk about like people they used to work with at magazines or wherever that is, like, they always still know people from that era. They're still in contact because it does bond you, and I think it quite a permanent way.
Yeah, that's really true.
Yeah.
Like, obviously made friends. We're really good friends.
Yeah. You know, like loads of people you've worked with, you're still in close contact with.
Yeah, that's
it.
Right?
Yeah,
I'm still in contact with a lot of them, and will be, for a long time, and hopefully, if I don't cancel myself. So, yeah, I think you do form really strong bonds, and I think you kind of, because you all understand, obviously you share common interest, but you kind of go through shit together. Like,
yeah, you do.
The games industry is brutal.
Yeah.
And you were working hard.
Yeah.
And you bonded over like that.
Yeah.
And
I think the word's trauma.
Yeah, it's a trauma bond, isn't it? Really. But yeah, and I suppose it's rare, I think, where you work in an environment where everyone has that common interest.
Yeah. Massively.
And I know that now, being in somewhere where I've heard game. I'm certain there's a person who sits opposite me who's talked about Baldur's Gate.
Yeah.
But I'm pretty certain a number of people around me won't know much about games or don't care for them. And that's a learning curve. Not that I think I was always quite good at detaching myself from games and not being in those crowds and kind of having that life outside of games, friendship groups and activities and stuff with people who didn't care for it. But it's just in a work environment, you're 9 to 5, that's not it anymore. Yeah. And it's interesting that, I think.
Yeah, it is. That was a nice chat.
It was.
I really appreciate you jumping back on and letting us
I loved it.
complete this duology. And we'll definitely get you back on for another chat at some point, another themed chat.
I'd love
that. It'd be great to just get you to play a few indies, and we'll get you back on just to get the Edda's take or whatever that is.
He's back on the takes.
He's back on the takes. That's it. We drag Ed.
It's like,
We'll name the third episode "Returning to the Games Industry" as we launch a new bonus series where I force Ed to relive the trauma he spent the last 2 hours saying that he's glad to be free of. That's content, baby.
Yeah.
But yeah, shall we move on to some hyperfixations?
Let's do it.
Let me just say how long we'll be recording for.
I also really need a wee.
Yep, you go wee while I check. Oh my god, I've wrecked my backside on this chair.
Yeah.
So, hyperfixations, Ed. You know the drill by now. You're the first guest we've had on to do more than one series of hyperfixations. So, what are your hyperfixations at the moment?
I think the first one is very real and very deep. I promise the next two aren't like that. But, during unemployment, I kind of entered my first sort of proper relationship with someone. And that has come to a close, which is quite sad.
Yeah.
I won't go into all the details. It's not right. But it sort of taught me a lot. It's been this whole year, I think, has been a big learning curve.
Absolutely.
But it was, I think during unemployment, it was like a wonderful thing to be in. Not that they were just like a vessel for kind of
no, I know what you mean.
But you know what I mean.
Yeah,
it was just an amazing thing to sort of be in and to learn about someone and kind of intertwine your life with theirs. And it's really exciting. And, I think my hyperfixation, I suppose, is grieving that. I'm still mourning that right now. I think, don't know how long it's been. It's not been that long in the grand scheme.
No.
And I think, you might think, well, we weren't together for that long, a few months, but I think it just, in the context of relationships, they are different for everyone. And this one felt like very real. And, it was great. And that is my hyperfixation. It's been on my mind a lot. I think I've just been, talk to you. I think the main thing is reconnecting with people. I think that's the hyperfixation. I keep sort of saying what the hyperfixation is. I think really it's like the relationship was a wonderful thing, and I'll always look back on it with great fondness, and I sort of hope that they find their happiness. That's one thing I've learned from it. And also I hope I find mine too. I've done a lot of self-reflection during it, I think that, just you do, don't you, throughout relationships and breakups and stuff. Not that I've been through them before, but but I've also done a lot of reconnecting. I think thanks to that relationship and her, like books, I got back into reading. That was a common interest we had. And I got back into reading finally. It's been a long time. Like I always loved books, but I felt like I've read a lot this year already for me.
Yeah, you've really picked it up again.
Yeah, and that's a wonderful thing to have had happen there. And we shared, a common interest in games too. So I sort of, I suppose, had played stuff with her.
Yeah, which is different, I think, for you.
Which is different,
context,
sort of couch co-op or playing sort of the Until Dawn, introducing her to that, and and reconnecting. I think sort of post breakup, and just sort of being vulnerable. I think with with some of my really good friends, and them helping me navigate my feelings and emotions and sort of knowing they were there for me. I think that's been really nice. So that's hyperfixation 1.
Yeah. Before you move on, I've never really thought about it. There's almost a bit of a parallel between that experience and the sort of what we've been speaking about in this episode.
Yes.
Like, first relationship, first job.
Yeah.
Appreciating it while it was happening, mourning it when it ended, wishing it well, but knowing that you need to find yourself outside of it.
Yes.
Like, I don't know, you just said it there and I was like, huh.
Yeah.
What an interesting thing for you to go through sort of this year of all years. Like,
yeah, it's, you could do, not that we should, you could do a whole episode on it probably.
Yeah.
and the feelings and everything surrounding it. I think there is a huge parallel, in a sense of it being in something really lovely, and really caring for her and the relationship, it coming to a close, and kind of reflecting on it, grieving it, and sort of looking back now with, before you kind of look back on stuff and you cry or you just feel really, really low. And I still have those moments.
Yeah, of course.
But you kind of have a bit more, like I have a bit more distance now. And I just look back on it really fondly, with a lot of warmth. But I know, having done a lot of self-reflection and stuff, that if it was ever to, there was like, we're going to get back together, I wouldn't do that.
Yeah.
I just know that for the both of us, like, it isn't right.
Yeah.
And I think that is a parallel with games. Like, it's
it is,
just,
isn't
I don't think I would go back to it.
Yeah.
Like, I think we've had our journeys, and I've loved them. It's been brilliant, but it's time to move past it, I think.
Well, you can learn more about this in our new podcast, Boy Therapy, where we talk about our lives, and I'd probably enjoy doing that, to be honest.
Yeah, it'd be really nice, actually.
So, yeah, well, what's your other hyperfixation?
The other one, very different, is Tyler. This sounds so bizarre. Such whiplash.
I love this. You like this on the last episode as well. I just absolutely adore the whiplash of recommendations and things you're thinking of, but it's great. It's genuinely
insane. Great. My other one is Tyler, the Creator's new album. Don't Tap the Glass. Glass. I've always liked his stuff. I say I've always liked his stuff. If you're not familiar, like a rapper, producer, he produces all his own stuff, which is amazing. Rapper, producer, and I really noticed him when he produced his album Flower Boy, and then I was like, oh, this is brilliant, and liked his stuff after that. And this one, just shadow dropped. Like, it just dropped out of nowhere because he'd released Chromacopia, which is his one of his latest works, not that long ago.
Like 6-7 months ago.
Yeah, I think he's still like touring and doing stuff around that, and he was like, "Oh, I'm just going to drop this album then." Not that long after. But what's brilliant about it is that, his other works have always been, not always been, but his albums are, there's meaning and depth, and there's a story. And this one is very much, it talks about in the very first track, like, this isn't deep. Like, it explicitly says, this is not deep. You're meant to dance to it. Don't pay that much attention to the lyrics, please. And just, it's so fun. It's like, you can tell he's just having a great time.
Yeah, it sings, like, it comes through so much through the album.
Yeah. And it's sort of, not that I know that much about that sort of music, but it seems to go back to the early 2000s. I could be wrong, or like the 90s. I can't tell, but I think it harks back to a previous era of like hip hop and other genres that I'm not that familiar with, probably. But God, it's so like funky and silly, and you can just tell, like, through his like mannerisms, or the way that he's playing with like the beats and the silly sound effects, and just like some of the lyrics.
Brilliant.
I can't stop thinking about, like, there's like a bar the technical term, where he talks about like a prostate exam in a week or something.
So good.
And it's just like the funniest thing to me every single time. And there's another track where you can just hear him in the background just say "fuck yeah" or something, and it always gets me.
It's so good.
Yeah, it's a brilliant time, and I would recommend listening to it. Like, the one track that I think I shared with you initially was "Ring Ring Ring."
Yeah, great song.
Yeah, really funky. I think people seems to hark back to like a Michael Jackson, a bit dubious there, but like a Michael Jackson track. I think it seems quite similar to.
Okay.
But yeah, super great. Love that album.
Fantastic. I've listened to that so much since you showed it me. Like, I'm also a big Tyler fan, and Big Paw is probably my favorite track on the album, which is the intro track. But the whole thing's just so listenable.
Yes,
like a great album just to have on repeat in the car. Like, big fan of it.
Yeah, and I think that Big Poe track also, like, I don't trust white people with dreadlocks, is such a funny lyric.
I mean, words to live by, to be honest.
To live by. There's lots of Tyler just going like, bro, you're weird. Like, just a lot of that.
Oh, it's great.
So yeah, that's my hyperfixation number 2.
Yeah.
And my third and final one, again, massive whiplash, is a book by the author James Rebanks.
Mm-hmm.
He did A Shepherd's Life, and one of my favourite books, probably, ever, and it's in my top 5 or 10 or whatever, English Pastoral.
Mm-hmm.
About like his farming life, I suppose. And this one is called The Place of Tides. And it's about him traveling to like a remote Norwegian island.
Love this. Yeah.
To meet a woman named Anna, and she's 70 years old, and she's sort of part of this long lineage of he creates this term for them because it doesn't translate fully. Duck women.
we had this conversation yesterday over dinner, and we'd had about 5 cocktails by this point. And you said, I think you said he goes to an island to see a duck woman, and I was like, she's got a bill?
Yeah.
Like, what do we mean?
Yeah. She swims down canals. And but yeah, she's a duck woman. And what that means is, this is like her last season of being a duck woman. She's old, and it's a tough job where, she's essentially trying to attract to this island and surrounding very remote islands these eider ducks that are, have been in classic fashion. We've ruined their lives. They're dying out. Blah blah blah. And she attracts them to these islands by creating nests for them, and she essentially they come to nest, and then she will harvest their down. They leave the nest and everything, and she takes the down and creates stuff out of them, like quilts and whatever, and it's very valuable and a special thing. But it's just about him kind of learning about her life and why it's important to her, and why it's important to the island, and I suppose why it's important to him, because he's someone, he like admits in the book that, I suppose, a bit like us in a weird sort of way, and a lot of people can relate, where you're in that 9-to-5 grind and you kind of lose yourself a little bit to the noise of it all. And he sort of says that he feels like he just isn't being a good like father, and and isn't being a good husband, and it just feels lost and a bit sad about life and where his life is leading. And not that he just like fucks off but this is like a way for him to try and find himself, in not in like some weird gap year sort of way, but like it just learns a lot from this woman that is first a strong woman, like an amazing woman, and cares for something so much that seemingly is so small, but I don't know how to describe it. It's quite hard to describe in a short, concise way. It's almost easier to write about it. But it's well worth like a read. I wouldn't say it's like the best thing I've ever read.
No, but it sounds. I think it's one of my favorite types of like writing, which is he is something you would never have even realized as a thing. He is
explained to you in a way that's interesting from what you've explained, but also here's how it can relate to your life and perhaps even teach you something through the lens of the author. And I think that's such an exciting type of book.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you can sort of tell by the end of it, like what he's learned from her, and they kind of begin to trust this like strange Englishman.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they sort of don't trust men on that island. You know, people visit and men just create problems. They're annoying and boisterous, and
I mean, no lies
that's
detectors.
Very true. Yeah. And these women can just crack on because of course they can. They're better.
Mm-hmm.
And they're a bit like, well, he's this Englishman who's writing, and
mm-hmm.
But they want him to tell the story.
Mm-hmm.
And he learns an awful lot from them, and it's a really nice book. And I don't think it's like the best thing he's written, but I do think about it a lot. I finished it recently, and would recommend.
So what's it called again?
It's called the Place of Tides. I'm like, I think that's the title. Yeah, The Place of Tides.
The Place of Tides.
Yeah.
I'll add it to my Goodreads as soon as we're finished recording.
Yeah, do it. Yeah.
I'm going to jump in and do a very quick, cheeky hyperfixation, just because it's something that we've both experienced today.
Of course.
And I almost just want to document this while it's fresh in our minds. Hold on, I'm going to have to do an old man groan.
I can see that.
Oh, God. So we went to the Manchester Art Museum today after a very heavy breakfast. And there was an exhibition by a load of kids in the Manchester area. So I guess between ages of like 8 to 10, would you say?
Yeah.
They got all these kids together and they asked them, what advice would you give, or what do you want to say, or what questions do you have for children 100 years in the future? And we started off by watching a video of all these kids, and it was like 10 minutes long, I would say, this video, of all these kids looking in the camera and asking questions, saying things about what it's like to live now, what they think it'll be like in 100 years' time. And it was that sort of like brilliant genre of things that can only be described as kids say the darndest, right? It was just like the things they were saying was a mix of deranged shit to some of the most emotionally poignant stuff that it was actually heartbreaking to watch them talk about.
Yeah.
Like, it was the contrast of a child below the age of 10 understanding the horrors of a conflict like what's happening in Palestine, and understanding the concept of World War III, and then moving on to another kid who says, does the dog man still exist? So we watched this video and both of us were just like creased from this video.
I couldn't stop laughing.
And it was like projected against like this box. And as we walked around the box, we realised that inside it, there was 4 walls that were decorated with the questions that other kids had asked, or statements other kids had made, not labelled by their name, but by a number, like they were prisoners, which was hilarious. And I ended up taking some photos of some because I thought the contrast between them was hilarious. So here's 2 of the most poignant ones I saw. One just says, I hope love is the same.
It's amazing,
isn't it? A child said that. That's beautiful.
That is beautiful, isn't it?
And then there's this one, which I might think about for the rest of my life. Have you experienced anything yet?
Yeah, I think I laughed at that initially.
But it's so like, like how do you respond to that?
Yeah, I don't know. It's almost so deep. I don't understand it, and therefore I just laugh nervously.
The intelligence of children. Have you experienced anything yet? Anyway, here's 2 more. I hope in 100 years when people die, they get rebooted like in Fortnite.
It kills me. It's so
I
genuinely have never been like in a funnier environment in a long time.
Oh, well, it wasn't just us. There was other people in there who were all laughing, which was so good. There was a few that were like, I didn't take photos of these, but there was one that said, a great phrase is what the Sigma. It means, what does that mean? But my mum doesn't know what Sigma means. And then the best one is, this is verbatim what it says, a poem. Last Christmas, I gave you my gyat, but the very next day, you got phantom taxed. which is like so brain rot level. But please remember that the first one I read out said, "I hope love is the same." And I just needed to talk about this because, my God, we had such a fun time in that little box looking at all those. It was just sensational stuff.
We had to like genuinely force ourselves to leave. We could have spent longer.
You were like, we need to leave now. We've been in here for an hour. Like, we need to go look at other things in this museum.
I remember like just because I think that poem was like sort of at the bottom of like the the panel, and I remember just like being bent double, like just losing it and being like very self-conscious that I was like genuinely couldn't control my laughter, and I haven't been like that in a long time.
No.
Like genuinely losing it.
Oh, it was so funny. I hope in 100 years people get rebooted like they do in Fortnite. It's just like, yeah, me too, kid. Me too.
Yeah, I hope so. Yeah, with like my double pump in hand, and like, you know, I said thank you to the bus driver.
Oh, after fighting the dog man.
Yeah, and we looked up, didn't we? Like Dog Man, and we learned who that was. Thanks,
like
to these
an animated
kids.
movie.
Yeah, we looked up phantom tax, which seems to be when you take someone's food.
Like if you're at McDonald's and like if you pinch someone's chips, that's you phantom taxing.
Phantom taxing, yeah.
Yat means bottom.
Yeah.
Never sounded more like a Britishman by saying that. And Christmas is the most wonderful time of the year. We all know this. There's no explanation needed.
Oh God.
Oh, well, on that note, thank you, Ed, for joining us once again. This has been an absolute treat to just talk about this and very cathartic for me as well. So thank you for
I've loved it.
Letting us have this chat. You can find Ed nowhere because he has a healthy relationship with social media.
Yeah, I don't have anything anymore.
Yeah, what a dream.
I'm out.
Yeah. You can email me, contact@indieventurepodcast.co.uk, and I will pass on your message to Ed. But yeah, thank you very much. We'll get you back on at some point, definitely, because you're always a treat to have on. And thank you so much for listening, everyone. Really appreciate it. And we'll be back very soon. Bye for now.
Bye.
Gotta get up again.
Yeah, that was fun.
That was fun.
Indie Venture is a video games podcast created, produced, hosted, and edited by Rachel Watts, Rebecca Jones, and me, Liam Richardson. For more information, including a list of every game we mentioned in this episode, make sure to check out our website, indieventurepodcast.co.uk. You can get in touch by sending your questions, comments, and feedback to contact@indieventurepodcast.co.uk. You can support the show by rating us 5 stars and leaving a review on Apple Podcasts or your preferred podcast provider of choice. Some of the games we talk about on the show may have been provided to us for free for review consideration. Our intro music and stings were composed for us by Ollie Newbury. Check the episode description to hear more of his excellent tunes. Thanks so much for listening, and we'll see you again in 2 weeks for another episode of Indie Venture. Bye for now.